Tony D and Little Joan, and this is your Screenwriter's Take. Yes, a review on Barbarian, a movie that was made by the same guy who made Weapons, about a woman who gets into the worst B&B of all time, AirB&B of all time. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 18. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So, you're probably going to think my review of this is a bit controversial. I know a lot of people like this. It is a bit of a crazy movie. It is very creative. But ultimately, I had a lot of problems with it. It's got a very unique story. I'll give you that. I just think there are certain things in it he needed to roll out slightly differently in order to make it make more sense. Because ultimately, I feel like it doesn't make enough sense. So, yeah, it's pretty depraved. I mean, I knew it was going to be depraved, but yeah, it's messed up. But it is just a movie, and I get it. You wanted something scary. There's some scares in it. It's not just a jump cut thing. There's some creativity to it and surprises. But for me, it was a no, dog. For me, it was a no. So basically, this woman rents an Airbnb, but it turns out she's rented the wrong Airbnb. She's going for a job in Detroit, and she's there for a job interview, and she's having some other issues. They don't go too deep into her character, which I kind of appreciated. But then the movie has a different kind of, and again, I really appreciated this. It has a different feel in the second act because of the way it sort of shifts gears. So, yeah. Okay. So that concludes basically my non-spoiler review. I wouldn't recommend it because the holes in this are too big for me to say thumbs up, but a lot of people do like it, and if you like horror, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's definitely entertaining, and it hasn't, it's right on the bubble for me. I think he needed to just change a handful of things to make the movie work for me. But I'm going to dig down into the nitty-gritty details now. So, spoilers ahoy. If you want to see Barbarian, what did we watch it on? I want to say Netflix, but I don't think it was Netflix. Might have been Amazon. Anyhow, let's get into it. So, in the first act, she comes to the Airbnb, quickly to discover that it's already occupied by a tenant. And it's the middle of the night, it's raining, it's super dark in the town. So the guy inside there eventually lets her in and says, well, why don't you just stay here? So but I found the dialogue between the two characters not the dialogue I would have went with. That it was very stilted. It went from being very stilted to way too friendly. Like, the first question I would ask a total stranger in this circumstance where you show up to an Airbnb and then somebody's already there and it's been some kind of mix-up, besides letting him in to make a phone call, the next follow-up question is, well, listen, I feel bad. This is kind of a rough neighborhood. If you want to stay here, that's fine. and I wouldn't have taken the couch. I would have been like, no, you can have the couch. Uh, couches are comfortable. I sleep on couches. Um, but the next thing I would have done is go, yeah, like, who are you? Why are you here? And they kind of do that eventually, but the way it rolls out in the movie didn't feel natural to me. So that was one minor quibble I had. But anyhow, they eventually get to know each other. Turns out she's there for a job interview for this documentary film that's going to be about local artists, and it turns out he's in the local art community. So my next impulse was, is this a big send up where at the end of the movie we find out the whole thing's been an art, uh, you know, a exhibit, like a weird performance art thing? So I was kind of waiting for that. But then the movie got super weird. So she goes out the next morning for her job interview after spending a very pleasant evening with the tenant, and already you could see she kind of likes him. Like, she goes from not trusting him at all and being worried to, yeah, I really like this guy. Can't wait to see him again. It was very odd. But when she comes out to go to the job interview, of course, the neighborhood looks like hell. And that was the most interesting aspect of it, using Detroit's neighborhood. That was really interesting. I wanted to see more of that neighborhood. And I wish they had used it just a little more. So then she goes on the interview. It goes well. But then the woman at the interview hears where she's staying, and it's like, you should not stay there. And then the excuse they use, there's some big convention in town and she can't find a hotel, which I call BS on. Look, I've been in big cities when there's a convention in town. There's always a hotel or a motel. And quite frankly, this place she was at was so awful. It kind of didn't make any sense. Because literally the entire neighborhood is a wreck. There wasn't one single other home that looked lived in. Not one. On the street. So the idea that you could rent this Airbnb and that anyone would stay in it, because at first it made sense because she pulled up there in the dead of night and couldn't see the other buildings. But the next morning, after she saw the wreckage she actually stayed in, she could have just drove out of Detroit until she found a hotel somewhere. I mean, it didn't make any sense that she would stay there. No sane person would have stayed there. Quite frankly, the guy she ran into, I forget his name, Trevor or whatever, the only reason he was there is he was exploring places for the art collective to do work. That kind of didn't make any sense either. Like, why would he get a whole separate place to rent just to do that? Because it was the other side of town. Like, just get in your car, go to the other side of town, look around. I mean, why do you have to rent a place and sleep there? It kind of didn't make any sense to me. Like, you can't drive back, 10, 15 minutes after looking at an area, especially an area this dumpy, kind of made no sense. Anyhow, she gets back. She eventually, is in the place, and I forget, why does she go down in the basement? She goes to the basement for something. Because Trevor or whoever isn't there. So she ends up down in the basement at one point and locks herself in the basement. She forgets her phone. She takes the key, which there's only one key, and it's supposed to be in a lockbox out front. And again, that was stupid too, right? Because if you're using a lockbox and you were meant to leave the key in the lockbox for another person, you would immediately do it, right? You would unlock the door and then immediately go, okay, let me put this back. Because she was standing right there when she did it. She wouldn't go into the house and then forget to put the key back. But anyhow, she locks herself in the basement, and then she's trying to find something in the basement to, like, open a window or, Jimmy the door open or whatever. And she stumbles upon the rope. Now, the rope opens the secret passage into the secret area of the house. But, like, the rope was hidden. And that's very key, okay, to the plot of this movie. The rope was completely hidden, so you couldn't see it. All right? So she opens the hidden passage, goes in there, find what clearly looks like a serial killer killing room. Because it's a camera set up in a room with a mattress that's got all kinds of stains on it and what looks like a bloody handprint on the wall. Now, the moment you see that, I don't know why you go any further. I don't know why you don't shut the door and be done or whatever. But somehow she stumbles upon, an opening, and there's stairs going down into the darkness. Now, she wisely doesn't go down them. And then, goes back out, and eventually Trevor, or whoever he is, comes back, and she's able to get out of the room. Now, she's freaked out. There's something weird going on. And the guy, Trevor, or whoever he is like, oh, well, let me see what you're saying. I didn't see it, so I don't believe it's there. And I don't know why he would go down the stairs. I certainly wouldn't. I would have been like, what? Are you serious? And she was like, yeah, this crazy secret serial killer room down there. Oh, yeah. I'd be like, let's call the police and let them examine it. But no, he has to go down there and see it for himself. Well, of course, he goes down there and he doesn't come back. And the next thing you know, she has to rescue him, which is already straining the credulity of the entire situation. This guy's a stranger. And again, the whole time I'm thinking, he's got to be in on it, right? So she goes back down. He's not in the serial killer room, finds the secret passage that goes down into the darkness, eventually goes down there where she discovers Trevor or whatever. Finally, because he's screaming, help me, help me, help me. And I thought, oh, for sure this is a trap. Now, he's not screaming it. He's kind of like yelling, whispering, that. So she goes down there, gets to him, and he's like, no, you got to be quiet. We got to get... And she's like, let's get out of here. He's like, immediately, no, you got to be quiet. Now, the reason, of course, if you've already seen the movie, and you probably have if you're... Again, this is all spoilers. I'm spoiling the whole movie. But I'm analyzing the plot here. So he knows that the killer, which is this crazy mutant woman, is down in a tunnel somewhere. She wants to run away and get out. Trevor doesn't seem to be interested in that. He thinks they could go deeper in the tunnels and hide from her. That seems like a really bad plan. And he already got bit by her, which was odd that she let him go somehow, or that he got away. Because when you see the crazy mutant woman later, and how strong she is, and she does all these things, you have to ask yourself, how did Trevor get away in the first place? Like, how did he get away? So, anyhow, she makes too much noise, and out of the darkness, and this was a scary moment, the mutant woman comes and bashes Trevor's head against the stone wall and kills him. And to the horrified woman's, horror. And then suddenly we cut away, right? So we cut away to, years before, back in the 80s, when the neighborhood was fine and a guy lived there. And he goes to the store, he picks up some supplies, some baby supplies, which later you realize what he's using them for, and plastic sheets. Then, using his water department uniform, he goes into a woman's house to check her water, but he's really just there to open her window so later he can go back and kidnap her and do horrible things to her, which is what they imply he does. You don't see that part of the movie. This is all in the past. And then his neighbor says, "Oh, we're selling our place, we're getting out while the getting's good," and he's like, "No, I'm never going to leave." So we understand that he's the crazy serial killer that started all this. Then it cuts to Justin Long singing and having a happy day. And then he gets a phone call, and then it's not a happy day. He's being Me Too'd. And at first, you don't know what to think. Like, is he guilty? Is he not guilty? As the movie progresses, we know Justin Long's character is guilty as hell, right? Because he keeps trying to justify his actions. And so later, we're pretty much sure he's a scumbag. So in horror movie terms, that's it for him. He is doner than done. He is deader than dead. I'm just going to change up the picture here. This trailer really didn't do it justice. So eventually his career is gone and he's going to have to liquidate his assets. And one of them is this house that he's renting out as an Airbnb using some company to do it, which is why all this happened. So that aspect of the movie, again, a lot of this holds up. The idea that, some guy owns this house in Michigan, he never goes there. He just dumps it on some company that rents it out to make the money. They make money. They give part of it to him. He doesn't have to do much. But it still didn't make any sense, the neighborhood it was in. It didn't make any sense for him to go there, quite frankly. I get it. He was going to liquidate the house or check on it, whatever. What could he do with that house? He couldn't sell it. Who would buy it? Who would buy it? I don't think he could sell it. Maybe he could sell it to the company that was operating the Airbnb. Maybe. But the interesting thing, of course, was that the serial killer had, built all these tunnels and still lived there and nobody knew. I mean, that is interesting because it was Detroit. However, I find it hard to believe, it could have went on and no one knew about the tunnels or anything that going on in there. But, it's a movie. So then Justin Long, of course, comes to the house. He's going to liquidate it. He's mad. He's looking around. Eventually, he stumbles upon the secret passage. Now, the secret passage, when he sees it, is closed. But for some reason, the rope is very visible, and he finds it. Now, the implication with that rope is, to me, very important. The implication is the only reason this movie happens is because initially the girl finds the rope, and then later Justin Long finds it, which he never would have found, by the way, if the killer had thought to put that, there was like a piece of pottery or something over it. Like, if that had been there, he never would have found it. And he would have went on to, I guess, sell the house, and life would have went on with Justin Long. But, of course, he finds it and opens it. And he's so intent on selling it, he doesn't care that he's just found a serial killer room, which is an indication of his character. He's a bad person. So he just goes down in the tunnels and keeps measuring things, despite seeing dog cages and seeing stuff that, yeah, it looks like this is a serial killer room. Maybe somebody should be called or something should be done. You definitely shouldn't be roaming around there by yourself. But he does. Eventually, he runs into Crazy Mutant Woman, falls into a pit trap, and then the girl tells him to be quiet, just like poor dead Trevor did, or whatever his name was. He, of course, doesn't. The crazy woman shows up, and then we get this really disgusting scene where she tries to bottle feed both of them. The girl knows to do it to placate the monster. Justin Long really doesn't, and then gets dragged out of the hole to be the baby. Here's another missed opportunity and something that they didn't really explain. The girl at this point climbs out of the hole. Justin Long had brought a knife and a flashlight, which he doesn't use in the scene in the pit, but he has them both. When the mutant woman comes, why doesn't he stab her? So then the girl gets the knife and the flashlight, sees Justin Long being messed around with. She should go right in there, stab this monster in the back of the head, end it all. Doesn't do that. Instead, she goes for help, tries to eventually gets to a gas station, calls the cops. The Detroit cops show up, and they don't really believe her story. She looks all disheveled. They think she's a crackhead. She expects them to bust down the door and go save Justin Long. They don't want to do it, and eventually they get tired of her and leave. That one scene did resonate with me, because that, again, very clever. That makes sense. Eventually, she goes to rescue Justin Long, because first she breaks back into the house after the cops have left and it's nighttime to get her car keys. Then she starts driving her car, but Mutant Woman comes out and she drives into the house and smashes her up. She thinks she's dead. Of course she's not. Another cliche. But she goes down and rescues Justin Long, basically. And of course, when they get up top, the woman is, alive. Oh, and Justin Long, I forgot this scene. So Justin Long somehow gets away from the woman. I forget how. He's wandering around the tunnels, stumbles upon the original serial killer, and realizes he's a total freak who raped and killed a bunch of women. Horrific, man. He's got tapes. He's got the dress of one of the women he killed in the earlier flashback. I mean, it's depraved. And you see it all. I mean, you don't see him doing it, but you see the end results of his terrible life. Now, at that moment, eventually the old man pulls out a gun, and rather than shoot Justin Long, he self-deletes. And, that's a weird timing, right? Why did he choose that moment to end it all? What was it about Justin Long that made him go, oh, now's the time to realize I'm a horror and I should end it? So Justin Long gets the gun, and that's really all that scene is about. And then when the girl comes back to save him, he ends up shooting her because he's freaked out. And he just shoots at the first thing he sees. So now he feels bad, helps her out. They get to the where did they go? Oh, they go to the water tower where some crazy local guy lives for some reason, still living in that neighborhood. Knows about the woman, tried to warn the girl earlier. Again, I like that part too, because there's a scene where she is trying to get into the house and the guy comes out and says, hey, what are you doing? Don't go in there. He knows. But again, in context, why didn't this guy warn the guy who lived there, right? The other guy who lived here. Did he? Did he try to warn him? Hey, there's a bunch of tunnels in your house, and a crazy old woman lives there. She's a mutant, and she'll kill you. You know, just because he's an artist, he didn't listen. I don't really get it. Anyhow, people don't. You gotta play characters to the height of their intelligence. Yeah, they don't have to know everything, but if he knew there was a crazy old lady mutant in the house, and he knew the whole backstory of the serial killer, you know, why not call someone? Why not get the hell out of there? At the very least, he would get the hell away from her. Nope, he stayed there. No real reason why. So then Justin Long and this girl are at his little encampment. I don't even think there's a still of the encampment anywhere. And near the water tower. And he's like, spend the night and then we'll get you to a hospital in the morning. Because she's roaming the town. You don't want to go out, but we're safe here. She wouldn't dare come there. And then the moment he says that, she comes crashing through the wall and goes after the girl and Justin Long. Justin Long, of course, is having a moment where he's thinking, am I a bad person am I a good person that did something bad, or am I a bad person kind of thing? Well, it's obviously he's bad because of the various things, but plus he just runs, right? Leaves her behind. And then thinks to sacrifice her in order to save himself. And then the climactic scene confuses me. I mean, you could say it and you could tell me, but what it looks like is Justin Long either lets her slip off the water tower or pushes her. I can't really tell. And then the mutant lady dives after her, but it's clearly after, right? She falls and then the mutant lady goes after her because, like, she considers the girl her baby. And but somehow the mutant woman, you know, lands, and she lands, and the girl lands on top of her. That doesn't make any sense. She fell first. She would have hit the ground first and died. I mean, it was just too high. So that really didn't make any sense. But not only does the girl survive, the mutant girl survives, kills Justin Long, of course, which was going to happen in a horrible way. And then the girl gets the gun, and rather than just immediately shoot her, there's this sort of touching moment, and then she kills her. And then she limps to the gas station, or is the implication, and that's the end of the movie. But again, you could have fixed this movie. It could have worked. Obviously, you have some suspension of disbelief with the mutant lady, who is the mutant offspring of the serial killer, which is a bit much, but you can make that work. But logic has to dictate the actions. So I think what they needed to do was, in the scene where Trevor is saying, no, we can't go towards the exit, he should have been saying, like, wait, just wait. Like, not that he didn't want to go to the exit, but that he wanted her to wait a moment until things got quiet, like he was listening for the mutant woman. Like, he could have had the same scene, but, it comes off a little different that way. There was also a very clever scene. Justin Long uses a tape measure to, measure out some of the tunnels because he thinks he's going to sell the place due to its extra square footage. And then it gets pulled into the darkness and the tape measure is just lying on the tunnel. But later, as the girl's trying to escape, she stumbles into it, and that sound sets off the mutant woman after her. Another very clever scene. Which is why I'm surprised the other things kind of don't work. If this girl never found the rope, they never go down into those tunnels. How are those people surviving in the tunnels? Do they have food? Why does the serial killer decide to kill himself on that day when Justin Long comes in? Like, he could have killed himself at any time. Doesn't make any sense. Um, how did this mutant woman get so strong? I don't know. Why did they bother to dig the tunnels? Why wouldn't he keep the house and live there? Why? How did Justin Long get the house? Not know, and they continued to live in it. As I assume, they must have remodeled the place, right? Because it's an Airbnb. They would have had to buy the place, remodeled it, not found the secret passage, not disturbed the secret passage, right? And then started to, and did he kill everybody in the B&B, or did he just go after these people? It kind of doesn't make any sense. The movie kind of feels like it was written by somebody who stays in a lot of B&Bs. Could you have made it work? Yeah, I think you could have. Like if Justin Long had some connection to the serial killer, like he was related to him, that would explain why he owned the house at all. He could have said something. There's a whole bunch of scenes where he's yelling at people over the phone. You could have had a scene where, like, he mentions, like, where am I? I'm back in Detroit. I have to deal with my crazy uncle's old house. He gets into an argument with the management company. He could have said something like, listen, I spent a lot of money to remodel this place after my uncle died or whatever. And, I wanted to not ever have to come here. If he had a more personal connection with the serial killer, I think the movie would have worked better. The girls' actions were mostly smart, except, and look, I like the scene where the cops just don't believe her and get bored and leave. But there's a scene where she goes, you don't understand, there's a guy in there being held against his will. We have to go save him. And she's ready. She starts kicking in the door. And the cops say, no, don't do that. Cops, my understanding are, if someone, comes to you and says, there's a person inside and they're being held against their will, the cops have a reasonable thing to bust into the house, right? Or at the very least, they would need to call somebody who owns the house. And one of the things they told her was, well, you don't own the house. Yeah, but she was staying there. She was an Airbnb customer. She knew the combination on the door key, even though she didn't have the key at that point. And she did say there was already a murder and someone's being held captive. Despite the fact that I don't mind a movie once in a while portraying cops as, not concerned at all, I think in that particular instance, those cops would have busted down the door. I think you needed something other than that to distract them. So, for instance, you could have had the cops being ordered away and then promising to come back, but like they're lying. Maybe they don't want to come back because they hate, patrolling this. I think it was called Brightmoor was the section of Detroit. I don't know if that's a real section. So yeah, it came off as kind of like, oh, that's for the movie, Again, she didn't stab the mutant woman when she had the chance. Justin Long didn't stab her when he had the chance. Justin Long doesn't shoot. This woman was a mutant, like crazy mutant. When she's lying on the street, and I realize that it's a horror movie and we all know what's going to happen, but I think he should have immediately went up to her and put the gun to her head to make sure she was dead, because it was that kind of situation where it was like, yeah, you didn't want that giant mutant woman to get up and kill you, and then she does. So I wasn't unentertained, but I don't think the movie really holds up. It's it when you look at all the pieces, it kind of doesn't make any sense. Um, so, but I think you could have reworked it a little so it did. Um, and I did really like the use of the neighborhood. It just didn't make any sense that an Airbnb would be there and anyone would stay in it. If I had stopped in an Airbnb like that, and I booked some bad hotels in my time, I would have said, "Oh, I got to get the f out." I would have just never showed up. I would have pulled up to the place, and look, she was in a car. Her headlights would have illuminated some of those houses around it. But the way they put it on in the movie is, yeah, there's like, the next morning she gets up and it's like the neighborhood is decimated. She would have seen some of that at night. You don't show it in the movie, but you would have seen some of it. So I can't really recommend this movie. Now, I think some people will still like it. I think a lot of you will say, "Oh, I'm wrong." I still want to see weapons. He's very creative. But I think those couple of little things really just irk me. Can't get past them. I can't get past when characters do something and it's not totally logical. From a character's perspective. Like Justin Long's character, even though he betrays her or whatever, like he's operating mostly at the height of his intelligence until he does that one stupid thing where he just doesn't shoot her. It's just a few scenes like that. And overall, I didn't feel much for the characters because I didn't really get to know them all that much. They just seemed to be there. I did like they were different. I did like the setting and the situation. Needed just a little more. And it probably would have been better if they'd personalized it a little bit. Yeah, it's called Barbarian. I think we were watching. I think it was on Amazon. So not bad. I'm kind of psyched though to see weapons. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan somewhere behind me. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.